So welcome back to the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft podcast. My name is Chris Speir, and I'm going to be your guide to mastering the great outdoors. So have you ever wondered about the best ways to find, filter, and purify water while going camping? And a lot of people are going to be like, oh yeah, just bring a life straw. Well, I guarantee you that eventually that life straw will clog up. It's happened to me before, and I'm sure it will happen to you. Now, I hope everybody had a great 4th of July, and last week I was gone. I was out of town, wasn't able to actually get a podcast that actually published. But today we're going to discuss water. Water is crucial for survival. We all know this, and that's one of the things that, everybody knows you have to have water. You get thirsty, you're already dehydrated. You've been working out in the heat, you're going to sweat out a lot of your fluids. Your clothes is going to absorb a lot of your fluids and your sweat and everything. So you have to have water to replenish these fluids in there. And so water is crucial for survival. And while this guy don't go into depth about finding the water source, because I'm actually assuming that you're camping near a creek or you're camping near a lake or a river or something to that effect, we're going to assume that you have access to water sources in those places, even puddles. Any drinking water deprived from surface or groundwater can potentially be contaminated with waterborne pathogens. So pathogens are one of the biggest things about water. And so whenever we get out into the woods and we start looking at just drinking water, you can't just go and take your metal container and scoop it out. So, and if you notice right here, if you're watching the video, I actually have a metal container. Now this particular container was, let's see how they do it, making the noise of it and stuff like that. But this particular metal container I picked up at Five Below for like $3. All right. It's stainless steel. It's not aluminum. It's a stainless steel container. It has a plastic lid, and it really does a very good job. It's 24 ounces. That's not a lot, but I have two of them. I have one that I keep full of drinking water, and I have one that's always full and ready to boil. So surface and groundwater can carry pathogens and fecal contamination. And that is one of the big things, such as like viruses, adenovirus and rotavirus and hepatitis A or norovirus, bacteria such as E. coli, Salmonella, or, cholera, and protozoa such as Cryptosporidium and Giardia. Now, say all these things 10 times fast and you'll have a tongue twister, but surface water can contain all these elements. You got a beaver or a nutria rat or a moose or any kind of animal peeing and pooping in the water. They're in the water cooling off or, trying to find something to eat, or, they're drinking and then they pee and poo right there, and then it flows down and you go by with your metal container, fill it up, and you just drink pee and poo, and not to mention the fish pee and poo and, that kind of stuff. So one of the big things is Giardia. Giardia causes giardiasis. I can't never say that. And so Giardia is bad, and it's basically beaver fever, and that's what most people called it. And because apparently a lot of people are like me and can't go giardiasis. Giardiasis. Say that 10 times too fast. It's the most common waterborne illness in the United States. So now whenever I'm talking about this, I'm talking about it's the most common here in the United States. And it's leading to severe symptoms of gastroenteritis, cramping, dehydration, and diarrhea. So if you're having diarrhea and it's all a chain effect. And so you got abdominal cramps, which is you're going to have diarrhea. Diarrhea is going to cause dehydration because you're going to be pooping out more than you could drink. And then you'll start throwing up. You'll start having cramps. It's just a bad day in the woods. And that's a bad day in life is what that is. So the perfect thing for that is going to be boiling your water. All right. Now, in my book, I don't go very in detail about actually cutting out a pot out of a log and dropping stones and stuff. I'm assuming that you're going to be carrying the good old metal container with you. And, most people, when they head into the woods, do have some sort of metal container to bring with you. And I've actually argued in this book that, next to a knife, a good belt knife or sheath knife or more knife Garberg in this instance, a good knife is, second most important to a metal container. And, these two are synonymous. If I'm going out into the woods, I will have a metal container and a belt knife. These two items right here will be on me anytime I walk into the woods. Anytime I'm going camping, anytime I'm going hiking, I will have those two items on me. Regardless of anything else, I will have a metal container. And, and that's because boiling your water. Now, I'm from South Mississippi, so if you hear me say boil, we're going to boil the water. I just say I'm boiling the water. But boiling your water is going to be the safest method to purify your water and render it safe to drink. And that means it's killing pathogens, anything in that water that's biological, like any of the items that we listed a while ago, the Giardia, the adenovirus, the rotavirus, the hepatitis, the norovirus, the bacterias, the choleras, and the protozoas, anything like that is killed off at 165 degrees. And water boils at 212 degrees, correct? So that's why they say boil your water, because we know at 212 degrees at sea level, at 212 degrees is going to be above the 165, and it's going to be safe to drink. Now, obviously, boil water for at least 1 minute or more whenever you're 6,500 feet or below. You're going to boil it for at least a minute. And then for 3 minutes, anything above 6,500 feet to ensure safety. Now, the reason why there is because you're going to have temperature variations of when the water will boil. So here, South Mississippi, where I'm 100 feet above sea level, 212 degrees is where it's going to start boiling. So we've already been through the importance of a metal container, and always have a metal container with you. These little plastic Nalgene bottles are great, but you cannot boil your water in them. Well, technically you can, but that's for a different topic. So technically you can boil some water in an Nalgene container. But that's going to be a very expensive video, but I need to probably do a video on that. So, but anyway, always have a metal container for boiling your water. And, even an aluminum can that you found can boil some water, and it could be used in a pinch. And human trash has touched every surface of the planet. So, there's garbage anywhere. You should be able to find you an aluminum can, especially in the South. Rednecks around here love their beer, and it all comes in aluminum containers. So avoid insulated or double-walled containers. Now, these things right here are real popular. They're like real sporty and real outdoorsy, and they're double-walled, and they're useless because once you put that double-walled into fire, it's going to explode. It's going to, it's going to explode. It's going to crack open or send hot, nasty stuff all over towards you. And don't use the double-walled insulated. Get the single wall non-insulated. All right. So single wall good, double wall bad. All right. So now we know to boil our water to kill all the bacteria, viruses, and all that good stuff. So let's talk about pre-filtering the water. Now, pre-filtering removes any kind of sediment or debris. Now, when you're pre-filtering, you're not making it safe to drink. You're not. You're getting all the grit and the grime and the nasty out. Or you making it, if you pre-filter it, an example of pre-filtering is going to be using a handkerchief or a shamag or something to that effect. A Milbank bag or a K-cup coffee filter will work too. And all these are pre-filters. All these are getting the sediment and the grit and grime out of your water. And if you're using a commercial water filter, which we're going to get to here in a little while, it actually extends the life of these filters because it doesn't clog it with any kind of debris. Now, using a handkerchief or a millbank bag, I didn't bring the example with me for the video, but let's see here on page, I got it here in the book. I went over extensively with the millbank bag how to do it on page 114. You know, a millbank bag resembles a Christmas tree, and they're easy to use, and they get a lot, if they pretty much all the sediment out of your drinking water. Now it takes a little while. You're going to have to soak it. Now I got the process here. You're going to go step by step. 1, you're going to soak it for a little while. 2, you're going to roll it out, wring it out, and then 3, you're going to fill it up with some water, and then you're going to hang it above the pot that you want to filter. Now you can also if you're using that water to actually cook your food or anything like that, you can forego all this, and you'll just might have a little grit or whatever in there. But the millbank bag is a great addition to your kit. And it's a great addition to your backpack if you're heading out into the great outdoors. And it's lightweight, and plus it can be used for other things as well. Now, you can use it for like a foraging bag or something to that effect. You can store stuff in it, stuff like that. But it's actually a real good item to have with you whenever you're going out. But the main thing to have with you is always have a good cotton handkerchief. And the reason why you want it to be cotton is because cotton wicks water. You can use this to actually wick water out of a stump or a log or something like that. I'm sure you've seen the YouTube videos where they got some dude going out there with a clear container, and then they fill it up with nasty, disgusting water, and then they set it down and they fill up another clear container and they set it down right there, and they put the little cotton swab, not swab, but the handkerchief or the cotton paper towel or something cotton, and it wicks the water from the nasty to the clean. And, you know, kind of like a siphon. It siphons it over. Once it gets to the top over there, gravity starts pulling it down, and it just kind of just siphons it straight out. So the good old handkerchief is great for that. It's great for helping you wick water out of locations into another location. Time consuming, extremely time consuming, but it is worth its weight in gold to have one. And then plus, not only that, you can use it in other ways too, to go ahead and get your water filtered, get the sand and everything out of your water, stuff like that. Now, another item that people overlook a lot of times, and I mentioned it a while ago, would be the K-Cup water filter or a standard water filter, coffee filter. Now, you can use a regular coffee filter to do the same thing and filter your water as a millbank bag. It takes a long time, takes a little bit longer to do it. Everybody knows how long it takes for coffee to press through, you know, especially when you want your coffee right now. Where did I put my coffee? But you can use a K-Cup, you know, for the Keurig, and they have the reusable water filters, and or the coffee filters. Now, the screen has a mesh screen in there, and it is very, very fine screen, and it will get a lot of your grit and grime out of the water. So if you're just scooping it up, pouring it in, it's going to get a lot of mud out of your water. Now, another item that we use for getting our water ready to drink is going to be chemical disinfection. Chemical disinfection is my last go-to source. I did too many years in the military where I drank iodine-infused water, or, you know, and then on top of that, people will argue with me, but they use bleach or, you know, chlorine in the regular water that you drink at your house. If you live in the United States and you live near a city, your water's pumped straight out of some kind of pond or lake or river, and it is screened, and then they pump chemicals in it to kill all the bacteria and everything. And, you know, and a lot of people argue with you again, and it's kind of sad that people argue and don't actually look stuff up and don't do their research. But they're like, dude, just go buy some bottled water. Well, most bottled water companies are just straight up tap water. Look at Nestle, that was out of that place up in Michigan. And, and look at all these others. The only one that I have found that is true filtered reverse osmosis or whatever like that is that Ozarka water. That's the only one that I found that is at a cheap price, a decent price, but it is pure water and it don't have any additives. Like when you get your bottled water, who wants additives put in there? Who wants sodium bicarbonate? Look at Dasani. Dasani water is one of the most popular brands out there. Why do you got to add sodium bicarb to the water? Yeah, it helps improve taste. Who cares? It's water. It ain't supposed to have no taste. It drives me insane. But chemical disinfection is going to be one of the things. They got the iodine tablets that are supposed to be no taste or color. But I'm telling you right now, you can taste the iodine in the water. And I always could in the military. It's like, ugh, it's just got a different kind of taste to it. Now, you can use betadine. You can use Clorox, and I got, in the book here, I have a page where I'm not going to go in detail here on this podcast, but in the book, there's a whole section on how much drops per gallon of each, the betadine and the regular household bleach, you could put into your water, into a gallon of water, and actually chemically disinfect it. Now, the iodine, there's a give and take here. Some people think that the iodine works better. Some people think the bleach works better. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're adding a chemical to the water, and you just make sure you pre-filter. So, all right. So now we're going to look into natural filtration systems. All right. So at the beginning of this podcast, I told you I was in a situation where I had to have some water, and my water filtration system clogged up. And we had a pot to boil our water, which is great. But we were drinking out of a stagnant pond. And whenever we drank the water straight up boiled from the stagnant pond, which had otters swimming in it, like crazy, all kinds of otters and raccoons. And, it was just nasty. It was straight up everything you needed to catch Giardia. I mean, this pond was it. It was the epitome of a Giardial infection. And probably 13 of the other ones are listed. But so we had the straw type water filters. Everybody knows the one I'm talking about, the blue straw, life straws or whatever. And we get out there and we start drinking up, and lo and behold, they clog up. And we would just drink it straight out of the creek, or drink it straight out of the pond. And so in South Mississippi, you get a lot of tea stain where the leaves decay and start turning the water brown or dark brown, almost black colored. And it's weird. It can be almost clear, but it's almost black. It's the weirdest thing. And especially in the woods, some of these rivers and lakes and stuff. But one of the things was the filter clogged. We needed a way to filtrate our water, and I couldn't. I could remember in one of my survival books the tripod water filter. I just happened to have 3 of the handkerchiefs, and then there was some grass over there. My brother, who was with me, he took all the logs out of the fire, and he scraped all the charcoal off of the logs. It was an arduous or lengthy process, and so we collected that, and then we put it right up the stream, or the embankment from us was sand. And so we got some nice sand out of there. So we had all the elements that we need to make this tripod. And so we put it in there. And so in the books, it's always said put grass on the top, which I don't understand why. I never really understood, but I was like, hey, whatever, if it's going to catch the big stuff, because the top layer is going to catch the big stuff anyway. And if in my opinion, I would put sand, charcoal, and then sand. That's the way I would do it. But, in the book here, I just went ahead and went along with the other different things. So what we did was we built this tripod, and we put a layer of grass up top, and then our charcoal, and then our sand. Well, actually, this particular one we did our sand, then charcoal. But whenever our water came out, it came out like a milky black, like just, it was horrible looking. And I was like, man, something's wrong with this. There's something wrong with it. And so we reversed it. It was like, what if we put the sand on the bottom? Because, swimming pool filters are nothing more than sand. And I was like, well, what if we filtered it through the sand, and then we boiled the water. And so what we did is we ended up swapping it. We put the charcoal in the middle and then put the sand at the bottom. And so the sand filtered out all the black charcoal particles. And then the water was actually, the taste and flavor was improved with the charcoal. And it was actually pretty good. It had kind of like a nutty flavor to it. It didn't taste horrible. It tasted better than the stuff at the house coming out of the tap. And, or some of the bottled waters that you got from the store. So, all right, we're getting close on our time here. But anyway, there's a picture of the tripod water system that we used. Everybody's seen it in the survival books and camping books and stuff like that. But I actually ran it through and used it, and it actually worked. So let's get to one more real quick, and then we'll wrap this thing up for today. Well, actually two more. There's another one. It's called the coyote water well or gypsy water well. People like, oh, you can't use the word gypsy. I'm like, get over it. Get over it. It is what it is. If people don't like what it's called, I'm sorry. That's what it's called. Get over it. Grow up. Move on. Find something else to listen to. God, it drives me insane. And but anyway, the coyote water well is also known as a seep well or a gypsy well. And from pioneers to modern day survivalists, this type of well has helped me several times. And as I was on day trips and stuff like that, because it's real easy. The premise is extremely easy. You dig a hole 3 to 4 feet away from the water source, and then you just let it naturally filter up with water, and you come back about 45 minutes later and dip your water out and just drink it. And that's it. So the natural soils and clays and sands and everything acts as the water filter, filtrating it from all your bacteria and harmful contaminants. Now, is there a possibility that something could have peed right above your hole? Yeah, it is possible. It is extremely possible. But would you take your chances drinking it out of this or drinking it straight out of the creek? Which one would you take? I would take my chances drinking straight out of this than I would on the creek. But then again, I've drank straight from the creek before too. Doesn't bother me either way. But, just to be safe, it would be easier to boil your water if you can, but I have done it this way without boiling my water, and I have had no ill effects. All kinds of people saw the videos of me doing that, and they're like, oh, this dude's he's going to be in the bathroom for a month. He's going to die. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is commercial water filtration systems. You got your Sawyer squeezes, you got your Grails, you got your Catadines, you got your Life Straws, you got pump filters, they come in, and there's a dime a dozen. Well, they're actually, there's $1 a dozen or whatever, but they're pretty expensive. They range from cheap to pretty expensive. And, you want to always have something or some kind of solution with you. Now, what I use is a gravity filter whenever I know I'm going out into the woods for a long time, because it has a bag that hangs up into the tree that you fill up, and then a little spout, and you put your little Life Straw in there, and then it can either cap onto another bag, or you can funnel it in there somehow and collect that water into another container. And then that is what you're going to use to drink. And so it's so easy to go and get 6 liters of water, hang it up into a tree, connect that thing into another water source or water collection system, something to hold your water, like a pod or a bag, and then just go fishing or set up your camp or something like that, and your water's being filtered. You don't have to worry about anything. And and then you come back later and you got over a gallon of fresh water ready to drink right then and there. So gravity filter systems, and let me tell you, I will tell you this, the one from Membrane Solutions is cheap and effective. It is it's a lot cheaper than the other brands out there. But if you was to look at the actual specifications, there's no difference between them and some of your other more expensive water filtration systems out there. And that is Membrane Solutions. Actually, on my website, you can click over on my website, and I think I got a link over there to where you can get it. My favorite all around thing is the Grill water filter. And the Grill is easy. It's 24 ounces of water, and it's the GeoPress. You fill it up with your dirty water up to a little fill line, and you push that thing down in there. What you're doing is you're pushing the water through a system, through a filter, and it fills up the innards of your filtration or your water bottle, and you have fresh, clean water within a few seconds. So that's not too bad. So the last thing I want to cover is rainwater. And a lot of people argue with me all day long about rainwater, saying rainwater is not safe to drink. People. So rainwater is safe to drink. Many will argue that rainwater has forever chemicals, making it unsafe to drink. If that were truly the case, now listen to me here, then all water on earth would be unsafe to drink. Ta-da! It drives me insane. You cannot drink rainwater because it has forever chemicals. Well, if that's the case, all water on earth has forever chemicals in it, and all water on earth is unsafe to drink. And all water on earth, we're all going to die. Every one of us is going to die. It drives me nuts. But anyway, building a rain catch, using a tarp, collecting your rain. If you want to, you can boil it. If you want to, you can do whatever, but rainwater is, I will drink rainwater all day, every day, and not filter it and not have it, and not have to worry about filtering it or boiling it while everybody else goes down and filters and boils theirs. I will drink rainwater all day, every day. So, but anyway, that's it. So, we in this episode, we went over the water management, how it's critical for survival and comfort in the wilderness. We went over a lot about water today, and we're going to break it down even more going forward. I apologize about not posting last week, but it is what it is. It was the Independence Day here in the U.S., July 4th. You celebrate the holiday. I wasn't here. And so practice these methods. Practice any and all these methods. Go by Amazon, pick up a copy of Primitive Camping and Bushcraft. The water section in this book and the fire section, this whole book is slam full of stuff to get you to think. It's not a book of, hey, you got to do this, you got to buy this, you got to have this product. That's not what this book is. This book is all about getting you to think about using other things, doing other, you don't have to determine or rely on one thing. So practice those methods before heading out to make sure you're prepared. Build you a filter, learn how to do the filter, learn how to use your water filters before you go, stuff like that. So we went over fire starting techniques last week. So next week we're going to go over food. And food is going to be a real lengthy one because there's a lot of it. So then once we get done with food, we're going to go into cooking, and we will have done our 30,000 foot flyover, and then we're going to turn right back around, and we're going to start at the very beginning, and we're going to go detail by detail through everything in this book. And join the Facebook group and over on Facebook, Primitive Camping and Bushcraft. We have like 6,300 of us now. It's went up 100 in the past week or so. and, join the community, get involved, start leaving comments, start having a discussion. Let's talk about primitive camping, bushcraft, regular camping, hiking, backpacking, survival, anything you want to talk about. Let's get her done. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate every one of you for stopping by. I'll see you in the next podcast and the next video. God bless you.